Okay, we will move further. So just so for your reference, I have written here. So prefix, meaning of prefix is before we start anything. Suffix means after. Okay. So in the definition, it has come like with the prefix zero. So now we will move to the next constant type, that is floating point constant. Okay. Okay. See here, the name itself tells floating point. That means decimal point will come in this. Okay. So decimal point means like if you consider the numbers like uh, say when I write digit 5 in front of the decimal point, then either you write 00 or you can write any number like 5.23. Okay. So if you come across the decimal point, then we can consider it as floating point number. The numerical quantity having fractional part. So fractional part meaning here in 5.00 or 5.23, after decimal point whatever I have written 00 or 23, this is considered as fractional part. 5 is an integer part, decimal point, then 00 is a fractional part. Again 5 is an integer part, decimal point, then 23 is the fractional part. So when we come across the numerical quantities where we have fractional part, then it is called as floating point constant. It could be either positive or negative. So you can consider positive floating point number or negative floating point number. Okay. Floating point constant can be represented in. So as I said in the diagram, fractional form and scientific notation. So it can be represented. Actually, we will not call it as types, but we can represent in two ways. That is fractional form, and another one is scientific notation. Okay. So fractional form of floating point number is a floating point constant represented using fractional form has an integer part followed by the decimal point and a fractional part. So the very basic definition of floating point is that only. Integer part, here in this example 5 is an integer part, decimal point, that is dot, 00 is the fractional part. So fractional form of a floating point number has an integer part followed by the decimal point followed by the fractional part. So 5 is an integer part, decimal point, then 00 is the fractional part. Again 5 is an integer part, decimal point, 23 is the fractional part. So these type of numbers are called as floating point numbers. Okay. So here given the example, it can be either positive or negative. And even in integer part, you can consider 0 also. Digit 0 also you can consider. So 5.23 minus 5.25, 0.123 with plus or minus anything, etc. Okay. Next comes the exponent form. Okay, exponent form means it is scientific notation. So when we use scientific calculators, we will come across these things. Letter E we will come across. So E indicates exponent form, nothing but scientific notation of writing the floating point number. The following, the floating point number represented using exponent form, that is scientific notation, has three parts. See, look at here. See, these three parts is not same as these three parts. Don't get confusion here. So here also three parts are there: integer part, decimal point, and fractional part. These three parts we should not consider in exponent form. That is different. I will tell you. See, part one, for part one, the technical term it is Mantissa. Okay, it is called by the term Mantissa. For the part two, either use the letter E, small letter, or capital letter. Okay, E. Part three is called as exponent form. Okay, and again I'm telling, don't get confused with this definition. Here also three parts are there. So that is first way of writing fraction floating point number. Okay. We are talking about second way, that is exponent form. So we will see what are these things, what is mantissa, what is letter E, and what is exponent form in detail they have given here. Just look at here. Yes, the mantissa can be an integer or a floating point number represented using fractional form. See, if I want to write the example for floating point number by using exponent form, I'll write it here. So according to the definition, we will go. Okay. First part, mantissa. Mantissa can be an integer. Okay. So mantissa can be integer means, so I'll write 5. Yes, this is mantissa. Next, mantissa can be an integer or a floating point number. So or a floating point number means I can write 5.23. Okay, this is 5.23 is a floating point number, 5 is an integer. So just have written only one part here, that is mantissa part. Okay, so again still mantissa part is there. Mantissa can be an integer or a floating point number represented using fractional form. See, this is about mantissa. That means it can be integer or a floating point number. So in this example, 5 is an integer, 5.23 is a floating that is floating point number. Okay. Second part. So what coming to the second part, that is letter E. Okay. So the letter E that is small letter E or capital letter E, should follow Mantissa. That means, see, the, after writing an integer or after writing the floating point number, what you have to do is either you write the small letter E or you write the capital letter E. This is the second part. So first part is either integer or floating point number. Second part is either small letter E or capital letter E. So two parts we have written here. Okay. Next, coming to the third part. The third part is exponent part. So this exponent part is the exponent should follow capital letter E or small letter E. The exponent has to be an integer with optional plus or minus sign. That means now we will write the third part. So after E we have to write the third part. So this third part is called as exponent part. So in exponent part, what we have to write? So you can write digits from 0 to 9, anything, single digit or two digit, anything. Okay, but make sure that you are writing only integer here. That is 5 small letter E. If I write 10, this is correct. Okay, but if you write like 10.25 like this is wrong. That means after letter E, one more floating point number is not allowed. Okay, that is the meaning. So they are telling exponent part has to be an integer compulsory. So only after letter E, either you write 0 to 9 digits single or 2 or 3 digits, but you see that you are not using decimal point in the third part. So 10.25 is not allowed, only 10 is allowed. Okay, that means two floating point numbers here we are coming across, before E and after E. Before E it is allowed, after letter E it is not allowed. So after letter E, only how to use the integer. Either you can use plus 10 or minus 10, positive integer or negative integer, but it should be an integer. Decimal point is not allowed, and after that decimal point, either 00 or any number, this is also not allowed. Okay, only integers are allowed in the third part. So that is the meaning of exponent. Okay, see here they have given examples. If you consider the examples, 6.5 E8. So after E, if you observe, only integers are there. 8, minus 5, 3, minus 5. These are the integers after letter E. Before E, either you can write integer or floating point number, anything you can write. And if you go for the second, 6.5 E8 is invalid because blank space is allowed. See, after letter E, so after letter E, if you leave like this, blank spaces, then it is invalid. You should not leave any blank space. Immediately after letter E, you should start writing the digits. So if you leave one blank space also, it is invalid. Okay, blank space is not allowed. Next, 10.5 E 6.9. See, after letter E, if you write floating point number, it is not allowed. Okay, 6.9 I have written. If you remove this decimal point and 9, then it will become correct. Okay, this is the meaning of exponent form. Okay, I can copy this.